back for our second podcast.
A second podcast, man. I actually was just lost in thought seconds ago about Age of Empires, so I am in the zone, if one could say, regarding Age of Empires, and oh boy, do we have a list of things to talk about today. I'm um I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty excited about this list. So it's four things long, right? We're starting off with the favorite Civ and why question. Is that um I think that's just going to be in my eye, that's just going to be a longer discussion about it. And then we go on to some, just talking about what self improvement means and trying to tie it into, like, defining success, but primarily in terms of getting better at something. And specifically here, we can talk about it in the context of Age of Empires. I think that's going to be a nice little question to answer. This is one. It's kind of a question I had for you, so I thought it would make a great a topic question for tonight. And then getting into an Age of Empires specific is it ever worth to idle the TC? And then we'll go to our quote of the day, and that should be us for the hour or so. Be us for the hour. So starting with the first one, Rom, favorite civilization in Age of Empires 1. Why?
Yeah. Well, there's several that fall into the category of, oh, look at the Civ I got. When you first start up a game, and
Right.
of course it's the first thing you see. But
Mm-hmm.
there's one that I always really enjoy having, and that'd be Roman. And
Yeah.
it's probably a lot of people's favorite.
Right, right.
And I suspect that a lot of the reasons I like it maybe are also the reasons other people like it. But I'll go through it, and then and feel free to interject as we go along.
Yeah, so here, I'll actually send you the link about what I'm this is how I'm just gonna be referencing the civs. I mean, you can click on them, I believe, to go to their full tech tree, but I'm just gonna be looking at their bonuses for the most part. I'm
Hmm.
pretty much aware of their civs. So this is the list. If you are tuning in live, posted the list the in the chat there, stream chat. So that's just kind of like what I'm going to be going off of. So I'm just going to be going down the list. So essentially alphabetical, right? That's how at least I was going to think about it. Or you do your however you were going to do it. You go. You go. You go.
Okay. Well,
Tell me what you
so
think.
first of all, I guess there's the macro level reason that I like Roman
Right.
is that uh, their their gold sieve that isn't exclusively a gold sieve. I mean, obviously, the best units that they have available to them require gold, but they're not beholden to gold in late game. If you're Yamato, if you're Minoan, if you're one of those civs that really doesn't have anything viable anymore once you lose access to gold, um, Roman doesn't have that problem because of course they have Scythe, and
Hmm.
and Scythe's a pretty strong late game unit
Right.
when resources are gone. I don't think it's a particularly strong late game unit when resources are plentiful, but when they're scarce, all of a sudden that becomes a pretty good unit. So strategically, I like it because they get units that can benefit from gold, but they're not completely dependent on it.
Right. Right. Right.
Now, if we dive down from that, lower than that, obviously the first advantage that you see the minute you start using Roman, some people are very familiar with it. Some people may be new to this, but the reduced construction cost is fabulous. It speeds up
Right.
your production. You can put your granary or your pit, whatever start you're doing, is faster. The next building is faster. Your racks, if you want to rush, everything's faster because you get that benefit, and it's a benefit for every
Hmm.
building. So that's nice. Now,
Yeah.
here's the next reason that I like it: is if you're a pocket guy, it is so enticing to say, okay, makes this as Memo always says, make safe, make safe, make safe. And if Poggy's
Hmm.
around, you better make safe because you know the scouts are coming. But if you make safe, if you've got good flanks, they're kind of keeping everybody busy. I mean, Roman in iron is tremendous. I mean, everybody knows that with the legions and all that. They
Right.
legions, catapults, Helepolis, everything.
I've even become more beholden onto the Roman broadswords when the way they flood the map, if they get on top of your buildings, right? They're not necessarily the best fighting force, but they're just cheap siege. Like effectively, broadswords win games because unless you have a way to easily kill all of them, they're just gonna start hitting on your buildings. And with that extra attack speed, those broadswords, man, they just tear down your entire base just instantly. It feels like the second they start hitting, it feels like a GG, right? The broadswords. If you don't have like an army that can instantly fight them, it's like there's no way you can get. You're gonna set up another perimeter of buildings, and by the time those buildings are finished, let alone produce units, they're already down. They're already getting hit and bonked down so fast, which is, man, Roman is growing on me. I mean, it's not that I never disliked them, right? Because they always had that the building costs, right? And that was something that I've always seen as powerful. Their tech tree is absurdly strong. So I certainly understand why so many people like Roman as a primary civ. They're very versatile because their eco bonus in quotes. They have an eco bonus. First off, a lot of civs don't have an economic bonus, right? A lot of civs have just not like just military stuff or other stuff, right? So getting this economic bonus is just so big. It's so versatile as well. It's one of the most versatile. But great civ,
Yeah,
great civ. I don't
yeah.
dislike your choice there. I think that's a nice choice. Do you have so I would want to ask you honorable mentions or or failures? Like what civs when I said this were you like no? Just no, my least favorite. And favorite, keep in mind, is subjective, right? Not what civ has the best win rate, but what civ is your favorite. And that could be about winning. That could be about flavor. That could be about like what units they get, how their bonuses interact with the map and how you like to utilize them, that kind of question.
Yeah, I do. Well, I have that reaction. It's almost like the quick fire that we did a week ago. You said Palomine, I groaned, right? But
Hmm.
but I had that sense as soon as we start up a game, and I look to see, okay, what civ did I get?
Yeah,
And I have the ones that I'm like, oh, well, that's really nice. And the
right,
ones that fall into that category um, are Phoenician. I like Phoenician. It's just to me, it's a fun
right.
civ to play. It's a fast civ because they get the wood so fast, and you can either go chariot archers or you can go compy stone thrower combo. And then of course when you make it to iron, I mean everybody loves Phoenician elite archers, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, that's a perfect tie-in, but continue.
Yeah, and I know the thing that you love to do with them is you love to get that grouping of elephant archers and stick one or more priests in the middle of it to keep those elephant archers and then just move that thing along. But that one's always fun. So
Yeah, finish
uh,
is great.
Minnow's fun because the copies. I mean, it's like they're shouldering ICBMs. I mean, they just shoot so far. I like Mace a lot. I like Mace in bronze in particular because if you're going against archer civs and you get and you stack up the pierce armor defense on top of their natural pierce archer defense, once those things get in somebody's town, the only choice you have to get rid of them is to build copies of your own. But they also get cheap stone throwers, which a lot of times you forget about. They get
Hmm.
copies to go with them, and the visibility. If you're a flank guy, you want to rush that extra visibility you get with them. Fabulous. So that's another one I like.
And honestly, I think one of the biggest things about Mace is their conversion, and it's not. I think something that people tend to forget is it's not. So their hoplites get the pierce armor, right? The hoplites, phalanx, and sense they get the pierce armor, but when when all of their units get resistance conversion or resist conversion resistance, sorry, right? It's their cavalry which is another big thing that people tend to forget. Their compies, right? Their siege, their vills are less like just little things that I mean, to me, I love Mace because of how they completely invalidate an entire unit. And then with their Pierce armor, they invalidate an entire class of units. And then the unit with the Pierce armor that's invalidating this entire class
Yeah.
already beats out every other melee unit except the only exception, like you said, the only way to beat Mace Hoppies is your own Hoppies or a massive archer army. Like you have to be miles ahead of this guy in terms of eco and production in order to stay ahead. And that's something that Mace really does super well. It's interesting though. Their bonuses ultimately, however, are very weak defensively. I'd say when I get Mace, I want to be on the O, right? I want to have academies in their town. I want to be in their face. I want to be applying pressure, right? Because that's when like in the Bronze Age, like you said, those hoplites in the town, they're unstoppable. But in the open field, they get run down, they get kited. They're stone throwers. I mean, stone throwers, you know how weak those units really are in the Bronze Age, right? It's, maybe if your opponent's still massing slingers, a stone thrower early, or if they have walls and they're sitting behind them, yeah, the stone thrower early, it has a purpose, right? But just making them blindly, it just feels awful, right? I only make stone throwers when I see a real need. So for Mace, that bonus to me kind of gets lost. I'd say that it gets a little lost on me.
Well, I think to me the magic with stone throwers is copies. Um, the problem with CA is it requires more micro because the
Mm-hmm.
CAs want to outrun. They're really fast. The stone throwers are really slow. But copies are not so much faster, and they're a good
Yeah.
screen for stone throwers because you can put a lot of them around it. They're
Mm-hmm.
cheap. So if you move a comet, and they get both those units. So,
Right.
but the hoppy stone thrower thing's a disaster. Um, but the copy stone thrower one, because again, when you lose a stone thrower, and you do lose them, but they're cheap, So it's kind of nice. But it's a fun civ to play, and when I get
Right.
mace,
Right.
I like it, right?
Yeah, I'm never
Um,
sad when I get Mace, right? Because it's
right.
like I know, I think the big thing about Mace is just by the definition of the Civ, you already eliminate options for your opponent, right? It's just what other Civs have to do through action, Mace does through existence, which is just so powerful. Which is why I think their bonuses, well, not necessarily game breaking, are certainly it's the most powerful combination in terms of how your opponents can react. The thing is, competent players understand that, right? Like a lot of times I rarely make hoplites in Bronze Age, right? If I'm not on top of my opponent's base already, I rarely build an academy in the Bronze Age. It just doesn't make sense, right? Building them defensively, I mean, hoplites might be the capital the least effective units for defense, right? It's like, what are they going to do? Every unit can outrun them. Every unit can outmaneuver them. Your economy doesn't get protected by them unless you're literally leaving them scattered around your base, at which point archers just tear them apart, right? So that's like the only way can make sense. So again, it's just a really bad defensive option in which cavalry for them are very powerful because, they can maneuver and defend and keep up with enemy forces, right? Which is a really significant aspect. Same with the siege workshop units, right? Because they don't defend well, so I find it very difficult to utilize a civ if you're on the defense. They're a very offensive based civ, right? Which is it's interesting because when on the offense, they're very dominant, right? But on the defense, I'd say they're very lacking, which is interesting. I guess they get ballista tower, but in Bronze Age, I mean, sentry towers are just worthless anyways. I'd say the one thing that they're good at on defense is going compies, but it's interesting because none of their bonuses make their compies any good. It's like going compies with Egypt. It's like, why would you when you have all these other better units that you can take advantage of, right? It's just the fact that the units that they're good at in the Bronze Age are just pretty bad. It's like hoplites to me are just kind of bad. I don't know.
Yeah. But I do agree with you. I think it is very offensive civ, and if you choose effectively, if you build some of those academies, near enemy town, you have to take them down, because once you start building some of those mace hoppies, it's a disaster.
Indeed,
But
indeed.
but so there's a number of other civs
Mm-hmm.
that sometimes I'm excited about, sometimes I'm not, and it depends on. Then you get map dependent, and the one that really pops into my mind about that one is Persian.
Oh, I knew it. I knew it. I was thinking as soon as you said map depend. No, as soon as you said other civs and started talking about maps, I knew. I knew you were gonna say Persian because it's so true.
Yeah,
It's so true.
I mean, if you get one of those, you get one of those civs where, or one of those maps where your gazelle are good, or if you really hit the jackpot, you get like 2 or 3 elephants that you can, and they're just so incredibly fast. I mean, this is where you sit there and you see people have, their 6 or even sub 6 minute tool times, and somebody's going along and they're like, yo, 8 minutes, and I guess I'll click up because I'm the center guy and I'll be fine. And you're like, what are these what are these clubbers and axers doing in my face already, right?
Oh man. Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man. Persian. I had a map the other day where I was a flank guy. Memo was on my team. He was my pocket. So, I know that if I just all in rush, he'll have my back, right? So I went in, I was Persian, and I had like a 6 minute 5 second click for tool, like around there. So I'm up super fast with 20 vills, mind you. That it was like a near perfect
Oh
click
yeah, right.
with 20 vills. Or it was what's the number there? Uh 19? Because you get three plus you get three every minute, right? So it's three
You get
plus
3 a minute. Oh yeah, if
so
you go
5,
6 minutes,
15,
you
18.
could potentially have 21 if everything
I
was
had
perfect.
20, yeah, so it was nearly perfect. I remember it was 21. I had 20 vills and clicked up at 6 minutes and like 5 seconds or something, and it was maybe the best rush I've ever pulled off. My scouts hit. I built scouts from home and hit 3 players. I got like 50 kills, and they quit before I hit bronze at like 18 minutes. It was just one of those games where, it feels really good to do, but I understand that if that were just how the game worked every time, it wouldn't be fair, right? That was a unique circumstance where I had easily pushed Gazelle. I had 2 elephants. My first wood pit was with 3 shorefish, so it was just sustained scouts. And then, I just clicked bronze. I had a dock and everything. So it was one of those powerful, powerful maps. But, it's something you gotta like. I don't know. I just Persian for me. They're always an honorable mention because, like you said, it's all about that. It's all about that map. If you don't get hunt with them, they just. I mean, their
Yeah, they fall
bonuses.
flat.
Their
They fall flat.
bonuses beyond hunting are uniquely Iron Age, right? Everything about them is
Right.
Iron Age bonuses, right? They get the faster elephants, and just their triremes fire 25% faster. They'd be they would maybe be too powerful if all of their warships fired 25% faster. Could you imagine their scout ships, their war galleys, their
Oh yeah, with
triremes?
that, yeah, that'd be
See,
incredible.
I think that would make them better. I mean, obviously better because you're expanding their bonuses, but I don't know. Do you think that would break the Civ?
Well, I think it turns it into a binary situation, right? Because if you get a favorable map for them, it breaks that particular game, right? It is. It's sort of like
But
you.
it already does because the
Well,
way
it
the
depends.
game works.
It depends on your map. I mean, I've had Persian when you're like, I can't find any elephants, and my gazelle are kind of borked, and yeah, you still get the advantage, but it's not nearly. It doesn't nearly live up to its potential. Um, but it's Persian is one of those things. If you said, okay, I have a sieve, and I got a good map, so it's going to amplify my Civ by 20%, right? I mean, it's like I'm
Hmm.
getting a bonus because, but they're like the map like amplifies it by like 75% or something.
Yeah, they are the best rushing Civ, but it's circumstantial, right? Shang, on
Right.
the other hand, essentially has a very similar bonus, right? Because if you consider hunters as a primarily Stone Age thing, like how often do you really hunt in the Tool Age? In 1v1s, yes, like it's much more likely because you can actually spread out on the map, right? There's only one player trying to kill you. But in team games specifically, like you hunt in the Stone Age, and then you're either on a dock or walled up behind. You're farming behind walls, right? Those are your options, right? And maybe you got lucky with a bit of extra hunt, but at that point, some extra food income isn't gonna make or break the game, right? It's really the Stone Age in which that hunter bonus is just so powerful for Persian, which is really interesting, which is why I rank them rather highly mentally, right? It's funny. I'm looking at the list, and maybe this is just me growing as a player, but I see very few Civs which I'm ever sad to see, right? So going back to the question, right? Because again, this topic is obviously one that we could go on for a while about. What would you say your favorite Civ is? Give me two honorable mentions, like second and third, and then your least favorite two. So
Okay.
you're naming
So
five.
I've already said, Roman's number one. I would say the next two after that, Phoenician, because again, not dependent on gold. So that's going to be a good Civ, whether late game not. And then I guess after that, I'd probably say Minoan. I just it's a little harder to play than you think because it takes a while to develop the bowman. Now, of course, you can start getting them out as improved and building a lot of them, but it takes a while before they become copies and go on the offensive. But I just really like it. I think it's fun. They don't need to go to iron. I mean, certainly they get better in iron, but they can compete with a lot of iron civs with volume of copies. So I like Manoa. Worst for me is Palmy. And yeah, Palmy can be good if you get a lot of food, etc. We talked about that a week ago, but Palmy's always my least favorite. I don't like it. And then the other ones that fall in that category of really not so favorite, Babylonian. I mean, it's funny because I can't really put my finger on exactly why I don't like it, but it's kind of like they seem to me to be the boringest one. I guess because they don't have anything exciting. Yeah, okay, they better walls and better towers, but that's kind of boring, right?
Yeah.
Everybody else gets something that's kind of exciting. So
Hmm.
Babby's not so fun. Um, and I'm going to give you one that doesn't fall into my. I hate to get it, but I'm going to give you one that I have this mixed feeling about. I used to love Assyrian. Assyrian was, oh, you got Assyrian. This is a great Civ.
Right.
They
Right.
would they would mow through calves. So if
Hmm.
you're up against Yam or anything, you just mass those things and they're great. But ever since the cav got, and I would say appropriately buffed, um, the Syrian I felt a little weaker. Yeah, they shoot real fast and they're great. Um, but I think in comparison to how strong they used to be, um, they've been nerfed in the sense that everybody gets calves and early bronze. I feel like they're just not exciting as they used to be.
Hmm.
So it's kind of an odd one because they're still a great Civ, but by comparison, it's like I kind of feel like they used to be A+ Civ and now they're kind of like a B+ Civ, my opinion.
It's funny that you say that. It's really funny that you say that because I'm gonna come at you with my list now because I think well I mean I think I'm sure people who are listening to the stream right now know my preferences for Civ. I'm very particular with what I like and what I dislike, and I have reasons for what I like. Back in the day, I used to love Minoan. I used to love Hittite. I used to love Roman. Those were civs that I understood. I used to really like Shang. I was like, oh, this civ's great, Popcorn City, right? But as I've developed as a player, my preference, very interestingly, I used to think Egypt was the worst civ in the game. They now come in second place for me as the second best civ. And
That's
my
interesting.
first is Phoenician. And honestly, it's because, well, for two reasons. As of the definitive edition version, if you guys aren't familiar, when this game was created, they did a very bad job of this. There is nowhere that you can see the list of changes they made to this game. So if you're not like analyzing the old tech tree versus the new tech tree, you wouldn't know this. And I honestly don't even know if they updated the tech trees properly, but whatever. Regardless of that, Elephant Archers got one more attack in DE over Rise of Roman stuff, making them interestingly powerful because elephant archers before were this tanky unit, but they had as much how much like as much damage as a compy, right? They had 4 damage, but now they have 5, and that's a big difference for civs like Egypt and Phoenician, who
They
can
get 6. I'm looking
they
at
get
it says
5. They went from 5 to 6
right.
exactly. That's where they became. Exactly. 5 would be a lot already, but 6 is a very much so a lot. I don't think Elephant Archers needed that extra damage, but I am so on board with it because they made avoiding Elephant Archer shots harder. I mean, now we're talking about Hittite getting 8 damage Elephant Archers. 8. That's a base horse archer, a unit which costs more gold, has historically been really a favorite, and now we're talking about this unit here that's just so it's so powerful. So when I see Phoenician, I jump for joy because in my opinion, woodcutters chopping 15% faster is hands down the best economic bonus in the game. I don't see how you can argue otherwise because it is the most versatile. It is the Roman bonus on steroids because you don't need to spend that extra wood on buildings. For Roman, the 15% wood bonus is only buildings. That's only a small portion of your economy. For Phoenician, that is applied. Think about the Roman bonus being applied to everything they spent wood on, right? To bowmen, to archers, to CA, to scythe, to ships, right? That's what Phoenician get. They get cheaper ships, cheaper CA, cheaper buildings. Everything is in theory cheaper if you consider it as just like the wood bonus. They have more wood than other saves would have in that situation, right? You have 4 on a clean wood line. They just have more wood. Your stragglers are kind of bad. They chop it faster. They fix it. Your stragglers are really good. They chop them instantly, and it's just you when you have a fast straggler situation with Phoenician, man, your economy just takes off. It's funny because I see Phoenician and Persian as being similar in terms of in the early Stone Age, if you have a map with good stragglers or like a for your opponent's sake, I hope they don't have this, but as Phoenician, you get a wood pit start, right, with some food there like shorefish or something. That wood bonus is instantly applied in the Stone Age and has ripple effects throughout the whole Bronze Age. It makes you boom way faster, way easier. And unlike the Persian bonus where the hunt lasts, like the hunt kind of ends Stone Age, Tool Age, when 1v1s and 2v2s, and the occasional you just drop some gazelle somewhere, but it doesn't feel that good at later on for Persian, certainly. I mean, maybe you get 2 elephants, you're like, oh, this can help me click bronze, right? Which is like still situational, right? Whereas Phoenician, every game you have a wood line, every game you have wood, every game you have to chop it. It's not like so map dependent. It's are you in the game with Phoenician? You get this insane bonus. Then on top of that, elephants, sorry, costing 25% less is a very significant bonus, right? Because I think what people forget is that elephants are an extremely expensive unit. So rather than giving them some sort of bonus like Karth or Persian towards elephants, they made them just cost less, which means that you get more of this already powerful, expensive unit, which is, I think, more powerful than Karth. Because for Karth, it's like getting that extra HP on elephants is like, okay, so like I feel like you don't notice 25% extra HP, but I really feel 25% less cost, right? That's like, I could drop 10 stables and just have Armored Ellie just spamming the map with a very small eco, like 70, 80 bills. And I don't know. That's why I think Phoenician is by far the best. It's funny, the Catapult Trireme and Juggernaut firing faster, that's just not something I think about as being a bonus. I don't. Catapult Triremes are just so situational. Like fire galleys, it's like, why would you ever build them unless it's like a naval war. Like maybe on islands they have a value, but by the time you get this out, someone's already won the game with triremes. So it's like, I don't know. It's not. It doesn't seem like a very valuable thing. I don't know. I don't know. Phoenician though, my number one. Right. That's my explanation. Uh,
Yeah. No, it's a
Egypt.
solid one.
Egypt number two. A. They're the priest. The priest with the +3 range, outranging catapults is something that a lot of people forget about. So they have an answer to things that most civs don't have an answer to, like Hittite, stone or Hittite heavy cat pushes. You just convert a couple of those, and with good micro, you take down a lot of those. And if they're comboing it with like horse archers, man, can you get some crazy plays? So they have very high potential with the priests. So chariots, that's both CA and Scythe, so it's just so powerful with that extra HP. And 33% HP is just such a huge bonus over the course of a game, right? It's not like it's just such a massive buff to something that's so cheap and easy to spam. It's like imagine if you had 33% more chariots. Every time you built 3 chariots, you got a fourth one free. It's like a freaking Target sale, you know? Like I don't know. It's absurd in terms of their combat effectiveness. That's essentially what they're getting. I mean, it's not extra damage, but the longevity in fights, the scythe closing distance against archers, because oftentimes with scythe, it's like either you're getting close enough to get a hit on and then the unit dies, or you're just not closing the gaps right against archers, and scythe just die. It's just you're just funneling resources into a death zone, right? But if they can cover that distance and get on top of the unit you're targeting down, like archers or siege or helis or whatever, then they become absurdly powerful. And Egyptian scythe beat like Chosen Legion. They beat Roman Legion. Which is something that a lot of people I think forget, is that Scythe are like maybe the best counter in the game to Legions, um, other than maybe Hoplites. But Hoplites cost gold, so like Scythe just being a counter to them is kind of funny. And then the gold miners working faster, but I think the biggest thing for them is that they get access to elephant archers, and they have a way to get through the Bronze Age well with the cheaper with the more efficient chariot archers, right? It's like they have a clear path to getting to elephant archers, which is kind of like why I like Phoenician as well. Which is why Karth for me always falls short. It's like, okay, sure, they get this elephant bonus for Ellie archers, but they don't really have a way to get there. They have like fire galley attacks damage, they get transport move speed. Like what is Karth doing? I guess the camels with the extra HP is like a good bonus, but it's camels are so much more situational, It's not like camels are gonna save you every time. It's not like CA, where CA can just beat nearly every unit, especially Egyptian ones, right? You get camel riders in there, and it's like, okay, maybe they do something, maybe they don't. You get nobility, but also camel riders are so expensive that if you're spamming camels, you are not clicking iron anytime soon. So for me, Karth for me doesn't have that transition into Ellie archers that Phoenician and Egyptian so easily allow. It's like they were designed for that, right? Like I just love it. And for me, it's interesting. My least favorite civs would probably be, if I had to say it, I might get some blowback on this, but Minoan for me is one of my least favorites. It's funny because I think they're very powerful. I think they're a great civ. It's just I know that when I get Minoan, I have one choice, and I have to go through with it. And if I fail, it's literally just I couldn't do it. Right? It's like Minoan. You try to bronze and get copies. Maybe you do slingers as a lead in. Right? I think Babylonian is just awful. I think they're a terrible civ. Their Bronze Age tech tree is fantastic. Their Iron Age isn't that bad. They get Scythe. They get just base legions, which is kind of rare. Only Assyrian and Babylonian, I believe, get baseline legions. I don't know if there's another set. Phoenician? Do Phoenician get legion? I think they get it as well. But I don't know.
Yeah,
I
they
don't
do.
think legions are only good situationally. I think they're like a surprise move. It's like, yeah, you have the tech, so it's a unit that can end the game by nature of being a unit that can end the game, right? They're not necessarily good, right? So for me, Babylonian and Assyrian also just kind of fall short. I get that Assyrian is really good in the Bronze Age, but to me, they're only good in the Bronze Age. Their Tool Age is super lackluster, especially without Slinger. So I find them very difficult. Whereas I feel like Hittite to me just seems a little bit more viable in the Tool Age. I don't know why. It's just the Bowman with the extra damage feels better against Assyrian or against slingers, right? Even though you don't, it's a rare situation, but if you are Hittite in a 1v1, I feel better than being Assyrian in a 1v1, right? Because as Assyrian, you know that you're going to get slinger rushed no matter what. Because even if you go to Bronze Age, your unit choice is literally CA. And your opponent knows that. They know that if they deny the market, you're probably dead. There's just so many issues with them in 1v1s. At least standard 1v1s. At least that's what I
Well,
would
and,
say.
and you know, with Hittite too,
Mm-hmm.
there's always the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, which is the Hittite heavy horse archer, right?
Huh?
Being so powerful.
What? Oh, the Hittite. Hittite. Yeah, sorry. I thought you said
Hittite.
Assyrian.
No,
Hittite.
that's what
Yeah.
I'm saying with Hittite. Because you're saying
Exactly.
they're marginally better, but that's the difference. Is if you make it to iron and you get those Hittite heavy horse,
Let alone
and
their elephant archers are way more powerful than heavy horse nowadays. With the +1 damage, Hittite elephant archers with 8 damage is absurd. It is absolutely absurd. Those units are so strong.
it is. But the nice thing about the heavy horse and with the extra hit is they're so fast. They're so maneuverable,
Hmm.
and usually in the late game, when you're going to have those things,
Yeah.
a lot of the resources are stripped, right? So people aren't walled in. It's not like early bronze, mid bronze, where they're still people are still hunkered down if they're watching their defense, etc. The game can be traversed,
Hmm.
and the heavy horse arch is just it's a great rating vehicle. And of course, they get the heavy cats, and they're much stronger than regular heavy cats, which is a nice counter to elephant archers if you get enough of them. So, but yeah, I'm with you. It's not like it used to be,
Hmm.
um, but I think it's a little stronger than Assyrian is.
Kick Jazz is saying that heavy horse archers are better, but in a close fight, elephant archers are better, which is 100% accurate. I don't know if
Oh,
you've
sure,
ever
they take what 10 times the hits as a regular archer.
and the biggest thing is they have they have a smaller gold cost than horse archers, which is the more impactful thing, right? By the time you're Iron Age in this game, if you've made it to Iron with any sort of comfort, you have 60 vills on food easily, right? Uh, by nature of clicking the Iron Age upgrade in this game, unless you're doing some weird forced strategy or you're relying on C, your food income, like on a land map, for example, can just be 60 vills on farms, no walk. Your food income is absurd. I mean, you're gonna run out of wood by how quickly you have to replace farms, which is why elephant archers become super viable, right? Because with 60 like 5, I think, 65, 60, 68, you can constantly pump elephant archers out of like 10, 12, 15 ranges. Like we're talking a lot of elephant archers on the map, and their gold cost being so much lower. I mean, gold, especially on land maps, is absurdly thing is exactly kick jazz. They're cheaper in the gold cost, which is just so valuable. Their gold cost not matter, like it matters that they cost gold, but it's very valuable to have them cost less than horse archer. And then on top of that, in one-on-one combat, obviously the elephant wins. In 10-on-10 combat, the elephant trounces. You will maybe lose one elephant against horse archers in 10-on-10. 30-on-30, they can start to do some focus fire and using the mobility and like take really good shots at your elephants, because then your herd of elephants becomes rather large. So they can. It's funny because I've seen it happen to me. Tokyo Ghoul did this to me once in a game to no avail, but it was really funny how annoying it was as the Ellie Civ trying to maneuver the mass so that where he attacks me from next. It was on Oasis, so where he attacked me from next, like I had to like daftly adjust the location of my elephants and make sure that my priests were protected. It was such a fun game, but like horse archers have this power to get in range, do a couple volleys as a group against individual elephants, but in more trench warfare style battles where there's less maneuverability on the map, elephants are just always going to win, which is highly the case, right? On almost every map, like Conti, Oasis, no, Conti, Highland, Hill, like you go on. It's like literally Oasis, I think, is like the only map in which that civ in which horse archers are significantly better because of their mobility, and even then they can get shut down by so many other units. I think horse archers took a big hit in DE, and I think that's a big issue. That being said, Sissoko agrees with you, Romley. Sissoko's saying he likes
Yeah,
Roman. He has
they're
all the
fun.
army.
They are fun.
Mm-hmm. They are fun indeed. So
Well,
yeah.
because there's power in the Civ, and then there's fun to play, and those aren't necessarily the same.
Oh
They're
yeah.
correlated. They're correlated, but because obviously if you do well with a Civ, it's generally going to be more fun.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a Venn diagram, right? And if the sweet spot is you get a Civ that's fun to play, meaning that you like to play it, and it's a strong Civ.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's why Roman is my first, because I enjoy playing it. It is incredibly powerful. So it
Mm-hmm.
wins on both those dimensions. And I think that's why you like Phoenician, because you love playing Phoenician and a very strong Civ. And so that's your go-to.
Mm-hmm. Indeed. Indeed. Oh man. I could talk about Civ balance all day, but I think it's time we migrate to question 2 here. So, in an endeavor of self improvement, how does one define success? And this is a question I kind of had for you because I think it relates to age. Just to relate it to age, I'm just talking about getting better at the game, especially in a game like AoE right now, DE, specifically without ELO, without clear indicators of how well you're doing, um, and without going into a game and like setting timers for Bronze Age, right? Like that kind of thing, like testing, right? How do you define success and improvement? And this is a broad question. So what do you think here?
Well, um, I think success, so this gets into a lot of philosophy and everybody has their own personal views and stuff. Um, you have to know where you're going in order to get there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you don't know where you're going, it doesn't matter how fast you run or how fast you go. I mean, you're never going to get there because you don't know where you're headed, right? So you got to kind of think, what are my goals? What do I want to accomplish? What do I want to get out of it? I mean, on one level, everybody say, well, it's a competitive game. I want to win. I want to win tournaments. I want to win matches, whatever. But another dimension, it's a game. I mean, it's a pastime. It's a hobby. It's whether you play golf, whether you play tennis, whether you play basketball, whatever. Um, the most people that are not professionals do it because they enjoy doing it. So the intersection of those things, sort of like we were saying with the Civ, you gotta enjoy playing it and do well with it. I think the success is, am I having fun, and am I doing well? Am I making continual evidence of improvement in terms of getting better? Um, so that is kind of the overall umbrella. I think you say, okay, well, here's what I want to get to, and you can have short-term, intermediate, long-term goals. And it depends on where you are in the thing. I mean, if you're new to the game, um, you're going to have some very significant short-term goals that may sound like newbie to other people or whatever, but you're learning the game, you're learning the mechanics. Intermediate term goals, long-term goals, and it's interesting because you see a player like, I hope I don't embarrass anybody or call him out, but like Hutchins is relatively new to the community, and the guy came in. He obviously had great, strong skills. You watch him play, and we're just seeing him blossom as a really strong player, right? If you've been playing for a long time, then maybe you have different goals, right?
Right.
Than somebody else. But
Mhm.
to me, it's figure out where you want to get. Do you want to master a particular civ? Is that what you want to do? Do you want to master a particular strategy like rushing? Do you want to be the guy that's, hey, I'm always going to be the guy that rushes? I don't know if this is the way Pogi actually plays or whatever, but it just seems like every time I play with him, he's rushing with scouts, and he's great at it. So I don't know if he says, hey, that's going to be my unique thing. When I show up, I want people to be afraid they're going to get scout rushed. And then he'll probably change it up and not even scout rush. And like, shit,
Mhm.
I wasted all that time walling up and everything. Instead, he went past bronze.
Right.
But or do you want to be a generalist? Do you want to be the guy that says, look, you can drop me into any map, any civ, and I'm going to do a good job, and I'm going to win my fair share of games because I if you get a map that's bad for somebody else, it's not bad for me. I'm equally good in everything.
Right. Right.
And I think you set your goals, you figure out what you want to do, and I think the key to it is discipline.
Hmm.
It's like people enjoy. I think, as a general rule, people enjoy achieving something if it was difficult.
Right.
If it's easy to get there, it just doesn't seem to have the same rewards as something that you worked hard for. You put a lot of effort into it, tenacity, you achieved it, and you're like, you feel really accomplished in terms of what you accomplished. Um, and I think this game offers so many opportunities to map out short and intermediate term goals. You say, I want to get better at hunt. I want to get better
Yeah.
at fast tool. I want to get better at rushing. I want to get better at slingers. I want to get better at defense. I want to get better at sea. I want to get better at a new map. I want to get better at team play. I want to get
uh,
right
I love
on
Age
and
of
on.
Empires, man.
Right.
All those
So
things that everyone in this game could say that list of things as things they want to get better at, and it's not a lie, right?
right.
Everyone can owe it. There's so many aspects and variants of it. So how do you like if I said broadly, I want to get better at Age of Empires, right? I think the hardest thing would be to say, well, in what way, right? First off, it would be to me it'd be defining in what way. And then the second would be how do you set goals in a game that is often without clear reward or indicator of success in many ways, right? Because I think we have a very interesting community that values very specific things, right? Um, like I think the stat screen is detrimental to our community ultimately because we value kills to losses and eco highs, right? And oftentimes, if we see low kill loss and big eco, we might be thinking, "Ah, what were they doing? They didn't participate, right?" But maybe their goals at the time were different, and it just didn't work out. There's so many issues with this game in terms of readability and visibility and understanding that I think that kind of muddies the waters, if so to speak, of how goals can be met because I could say, well, I don't want to be small eco overall, right? And there's kick jazz exactly. So the real success is top kills. It's all that matters, Kappa. And I couldn't agree more because that's just what I'm trying to talk about. It's like that's I feel like, but like joking aside, that ultimately if we all make that the only goal, I think that improvement becomes very difficult because ultimately Age of Empires is not just about kills. Yes, it is about, winning battles. That is the end all be all. But to get there, there are so many different facets. So a lot of players I feel are missing out on really important like aspects of improvement, and I am too, right? I'm also missing out on these aspects of improvement because we might be in some ways blinded by that real the in quotes real success of kills, right? Which I don't disagree with. Like I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I think it's certainly something to be very aware of when trying to define success in a game, and even if you lose, trying to find what you did good versus what you did bad to try to improve on that. I think that's something that I'm certainly going to be trying to do more of in the coming days and weeks and months and maybe years. Who knows? Who knows how long this all will go for, right? So it's like I don't know. It's interesting.
Well, yeah. So I think if you set a goal and you say, okay, that's a goal. I want to be top kills. I want to have like top in maybe depending how you define that as top kill loss ratio, or is it just absolute kills or whatever. And then you say, okay, well, how do I get there? And I just feel like
Right,
in
right,
AoE, in AoE and in life, I think often the best way for self improvement isn't the one that a lot of people choose. A lot of people say, "How do I want to get better at something?" And what they do is they consciously or subconsciously figure out what they're good at, and then they want to make themselves better at that. They're like, I'm really good at something, at fast bronze. I'm going to make myself even faster or whatever, right? And it's possible that that's the way to your objective, but a lot of times it's the inverse. It's your biggest weakness, and it's fixing the biggest weakness. Even if your strength doesn't improve at all, but your biggest weaknesses make enormous gains. Like say on a scale of 1 to 5, you say, "Hey, I'm already 5 at fast tool and attacking." Um, well, let's not say you're 5 because there's no improvement left in that case. Let's say you're a 4. And you say, well, I can move to 5. Well, say you're a 1 on defense, and we've seen this in players. They don't wall up. They put all their efforts in going forth, etc. Um, if you improve your defense game or your economy or whatever you're really weak at from a 1 to a 3, well, that's two level jump as opposed to
right.
moving from a 4 to a 5, right?
Hmm.
So I think a lot of times it's looking at what are significant weaknesses and how can they be improved a far greater amount than what you're already really good at. Because if you're
Mm,
really good at something, the level of energy and effort to get even better at it is enormous. But if you're bad at something, it's probably because you've been ignoring it. And if you spend a little bit of time and effort, you might be able to make great strides in it. And
right,
this game is not a combat game. It's not an economy game. It's not a technology game. It's all of those.
right.
You can't have combat if you don't have an economy, and you're not going to have the best economy or the best combat unless you advance your technology. I mean, it's all these things in combination. Um, so I think
Mm.
my one of my answers to your question would be look at your strengths, look at your weaknesses objectively, and see which ones can make the greatest gains. And the combination of that is probably going to make you a better player.
That's interesting. Assistance. Yeah, I agree with you on that, Romney. I totally do. That's some wise words about how improving your worst quality or your weakness, as you put it, can often be the best way to improve rapidly, right? That's like if you were to chop up your skill set into different groups and say, which one is the weakest, and you work on just that part, and when you put it back into the whole is significantly stronger because of it changed to just one single part. And I totally agree. But it's funny. Assistant says if you go into a game expecting an end result of a statistic, the map doesn't always provide that opportunity, which I think is really important. And it's not only that the map doesn't always provide an opportunity to reach that goal. I find in terms of like teammates, I think it's important to think about what they accomplished with the map they had, because like you said, like your flank position versus your pocket position, it's all that adds relevance to what you're doing, and it's not just an economy game, it's not just a tech game, it's not just a combat game, right? It's all these things, right? So when you get into when you get into the nitty gritty of it, I think it's just so interesting that, how do I phrase this? It's so interesting that when you look at the stat screen, and I feel like this is something that I've fallen kind of more to, and maybe this is more of a self reflection than a real guide, I guess, to success. But it would be, don't fall for the stat screen as telling the whole story, right? I think a lot of times I look at someone with only a few kills, and I'll go, "Oh man, yeah, that's why we lost." But oftentimes that's rarely the reason why you lost, right? We can very easily look at that and say, "Oh, that guy died, so it was over," right? But if you look back at the tape, right, if we had a way to rewind and look at tape, or rewind and look at what everything happened, or watch VODs or slow it down, 2020, right? Hindsight tends to be that way. I think it would really help us all understand. But because we don't have those tools, but because we don't have, film like an NFL player, they all review film all week, right? Before the next opponent, they say, what is this guy doing well? What is this guy doing poorly? And then when they get into game time, they're like, okay, they know what to expect. But for us, we just go, we just go, we just go player to, we just go like game to game, and we just have this one thing, which is the current and the now, and at the end of the game, it's that end all be all, right? It's, I don't know, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Success,
Yeah,
I think the biggest thing about age is success is very difficult to define, and in terms of improvement, the goals have to be very personable and very achievable if you want to like succeed with that, right? I would say.
but it's interesting. So I love what Kick Jazz said a minute ago. He says, goal isn't always achievable, right? But that doesn't mean it shouldn't be the goal.
Mm-hmm.
I,
Yeah.
I would say that in most cases, if you know the goal is achievable, it's the wrong goal, because
Whoa.
you've probably set the goal too low, right? You want a goal. You don't want to, and this is a magic in setting goals. If you set something that is absolutely unachievable, I want to flap my wings till I fly. Okay, well that isn't going to work, right? But if you set a goal is achievable, well then how do you know you didn't set that goal 10 or 20 or 30% too low, right? If you set a goal that really is going to put you outside of your comfort zone to try to achieve, and if you fall a little short of it, chances are you will have passed what your other goal might have been set at anyway. So,
Hmm.
and that's just kind of a life thing. I think it probably applies to AoE and other things, but I think
Yeah.
in terms of life, you say whatever whatever your goals are to be,
Hmm.
always set yourself a stretch goal, and if you fall short, you'll say, wow, I'm still proud of what I did, as opposed to, oh, my goal was to get a C in math, and hey, got my C. And if you're not good at math, you said you should have set yourself a goal of a B, and if you got it, you're like, wow, I thought that was going to be maybe beyond me. But even if you get a B minus, you still exceeded what you thought you could do.
Hmm.
But the key is, don't make it unrealistic, right? I'm not going to set a goal for me to go beat Memo 5 out of 5, because I might as well go out in the front yard and start flapping my wings, right? My arms, you know.
I was gonna say
Um,
get a kill loss of 60-0 4 games in a
yeah,
row.
right, right,
Like
right.
like
But
never lose
but
a
anyway,
unit.
it just but anyway. So, but everybody, they find their own way to to path through life, and
Hmm.
aspirations, games, life experience, whatever.
That's interesting.
But anyway, so some thoughts.
No, yeah, no, I think that came out nicely. I think you had some really good insight there. So thank you for all of that. Did it because it's important, because I'm trying to think about ways I can apply this to kind of this little endeavor we have now with the Classic Cup, and how much effort we're putting into growing it, and what goals can we realistically set for this tournament, right? For the series, for the 3v3 tournament, right? Before I don't want to be out there flapping my wings, but at the same time, I don't want to set the bar too low and be content, right? Being content is scary in some ways, right? Because that means you've been satiated. That means you're happier with what you have. When in some ways, that's that's never good in some viewpoints, right? But anyway, moving on. Back to age, right? Bringing it back. This is a question that's kind of been hot on my mind for a while, and I wanted to ask it tonight because what a better time than the start of our qualifiers, right? Is it ever worth it to idle your town center? Specifically, I'm talking specifically about Vil production between Stone Age and Bronze Age. Right? When you get to Bronze Age, things change a bit because you have multiple TCs and one could idle for a sec, like strategically, I guess. But at, still, even then, like, I guess that wouldn't. You really don't want to idle. I guess you would never, in my view, I guess, I would never want to idle my town center until I was Iron Age with like at least 110 bills. Maybe 100 is a goal.
Yeah, and part of this, and this wasn't your question, but it popped in my head when you asked it, because you always want to be producing bills. Obviously, other than you're in tool, you have ATC, and that TC is being camped by axers, right? And your wood line is somewhere. Obviously, you don't want to just pop out a bill that's just going to get slaughtered by a scout or whatever, right?
Well,
Uh, you know,
yeah, I mean, I guess.
so I mean, if it's being camped and the guy's camping it with scouts, you can pop out bills till the cows come home. You're just going to poke them as they come out. But I mean, other than the obvious situation, but what it made me think of, and we don't have to go into this because this wasn't your question, but what popped in my head was, when do you make more than one TC, right?
Oh,
Because
that's another question.
right,
That's like just kind of propelling it, I think I want to focus more on like the stone and toolage of it, right? So before that's an option because obviously in the Bronze
so
Age the
all right, so
the
sticking
options
with this,
become too high, I think.
let's put a box
Yeah,
around this then
box.
and
There's a
say
box around this.
you got one TC, and
One
so this
TC.
is either all the way through stone, tool, and into early bronze, right? So it's all
Yes.
prior to government center stuff.
Yeah.
The I think the goal and the objective is, so a bill pops out every 20 seconds, right? I mean, assuming that so obviously everybody that plays, very competitively experienced players, I'm not talking about people that are new to the game, they know that you've got to keep the food count up so that and that's why if you listen to people's keys that you hear that, they're constantly
Yeah.
spamming whatever that production key is, C or T or whatever it is for you that produces a bill, and people are spamming it, right? Um, so everybody knows that.
Hmm.
I guess the where it changes is when you get into that point where you're now in combat. Either you're tooling, and I've got the scout rush going on, or I've got the slinger rush going on, I got this tool rush going on. Do I need that extra axer because I'm like in his wood line, or I'm fighting and it's neck and neck, or do I need that bill to pop out, right?
Right. Right.
And I'm not sure there's an answer. I'd be interested in your opinions as well, but I'm not sure there's an answer because Memo always says, you got to make army, you got to make army. You just can't make, economy all the time. But then on the other hand, if the guy's successfully keeping your army tied up with his army and he's making production eventually, and we see this over and over and over in the games that we watch.
Right. Especially recently.
Right. When you start off, okay, with a both 20 bills each, and that's their eco, and this is when the tool war starts, and
Right.
this guy's now got 22, and this guy's still at 20, and this guy's at 24. And you and I call this out. We watch this, and once you get to that point where that guy's got 30 to 50% more bills, you're thinking, if he's not really losing in combat, he's going to win the game. I mean, 30, 40, 50% more eco just makes it really hard to catch up.
Yeah, which is why it's so interesting. Which is kind of why I asked this question. I mean, there's a bit of a target here, right? Because we see the strategy that is applied by specifically VNS School and the success he's been having with it in in the current form of the game, right? I know this. He never idles the town center. It's an age for people who might not be familiar. In Age of Empires 2, it is like the first thing you learn, right? Is never idle your town center. But in Age 1, it seems like the answer is a lot more difficult, at least to get to, right? And I'm not sure that the majority of the community has it right, but I'm also not sure they have it wrong. I don't know if there's ever a situation which it's I don't know if it's ever 100% always you have to be producing, because like you said, if your town center is being bombarded by axers and slingers, then a vill coming out to just die is a waste of food. Well, yes, but that's, I guess, an extreme. A lot of times, if that's happening, unless it's a really messy Conti game, a lot of times that's the end of the game, right? If you lose your town center, it's okay, well, they're going to rebuild over here, and unless they have a very large army, unless it's a very specific situation, that seems to already be the end of the game. I so I have this philosophy, and I know this is something where I think Iron Steel has spoken to me about this, where he not disagrees per se. He laughs at my base design, right? He laughs at my base layout because it looks funny. Because for him, he doesn't care about idling his town center if it means he can kill his opponent better, right? He's like, once you get enough food income for 3 barracks, it's go time, right? He just goes. He's aggressive. But I think that if my army in Tool Age is forward and not in a position where I can use it to defend, because as Assistance is saying in chat, there's no defense in Age 1, right? Because of that, there's no way to protect these villas. Like you said, the villas that come out, they're always going to be vulnerable to scouts unless you have a really good defendable map. Which is why my new philosophy that I've been trying to uphold, I haven't been playing a lot recently, kind of sad, but I haven't been playing as much as I usually would like to. I think that designing your base, I think that designing your base to protect your town center is something that we don't often think about. Right? We have to think about the villagers, but we don't think about the future villagers, right? That come out of the town center once you're into the tool age, right? We think, oh, we got to protect the wood line. Oh, we have to protect the shoreline for the shorefish. Oh, we have to protect um all we have to protect all those things, right? And when you design your base in a way that protects the town center, you're kind of, like you said, it's not just a tech game, it's not just a combat game, it's not just an eco game, it's all of them. You're kind of protecting the essence of the future. The tech, in a way, is being protected when you protect the town center, because it is what will allow you to eventually bronze. It is what will allow you to build more vills and build more eco. And with more eco, you get more units. I think I think I think that's like really critical to this game, because right now, like Assistance is saying, there is no defense from your town center. So you have to protect your town center, which adds a really, in 1v1s it's very easy to do this. But in team games, I find it's very hard to protect the villagers, right? You're either attacking or defending, and a lot of times if you're defending and the whole enemy team is attacking, your team is at a disadvantage if you're just defending yourself, because they can use mobility with like scouts or axers, or right, and just navigate around your defenses and then double up on your teammate. Right? So that's why it's kind of like, how do you, is there an answer to this question? Or is this one of those hypotheticals that just will never get answered?
Yeah, I'm not sure there is a right answer. I think it's somewhat situational dependent. I think it's also somewhat play style dependent. Um,
Hmm.
some people are really really good at super fast uh, tool attack, right? They'll go in with 16. It never really works for me very well, because I don't have the eco behind it. And yeah, you get in fast, but it's like I just didn't have quite enough units to, really damage the guy enough. But other people are good at it. So I
Hmm.
don't know. But
I only do the 16 out of 16. I only do 16 rushes when I'm Persian with Good Hunt. That's the only time I would consider it, and that's strictly for Rohan. Because I know with Persian, I'll be able to store up like 400 food, and with
yeah, you'll
16
have the
vills,
food.
you'll be so fast. So I can, if I can guarantee that I'll have 500 food upon hitting Tool at like 8 minutes, then I'll go, because then you put like 9 or 10 vills on wood on the way up, boom. 2 stables, pop those suckers out. You do the upgrades. You get 4 scouts out before they can possibly defend. And even if you just kill only their berries or only their woodline, it's already a huge win. You've probably won the game.
Yeah, I will say though, from after all the games that we've watched in the tournament, which is great because the best and brightest that our community has to offer, they've all been in one tournament or another in this thing,
Exactly.
and I would say consistently the ones that I say are the strongest players. Doesn't mean they win every game, but overall, taking a sum of their gameplay, are the ones that are good at both attacking and eco, and that requires a certain degree of multitasking. It requires situational awareness. It means that you don't get so focused on one task that you forget to do something else. Um, but those that you just watch them play, and they're attacking, they're doing this, but they're keeping their to your point, the TC is producing, they're walling, they're advancing their wood lines as they're starting to get a little distant from the pit. You're doing all those things. It's not one thing great, right? And
Right.
so on balance, I'd have to say, yeah. I mean, I think the goal is to always have the TC producing a vil every 20 seconds. I think that's the goal.
Right. Right. I couldn't agree more. Okay, so it's the goal, but like you said, it's one of those things where you set the goal to something that isn't impossible. Like you're not flapping your wings, right? You're not saying every 15 seconds. But it's not something that's too easy like I just want to get to 20 vils and then rush, which is just super doable but clearly isn't the best answer, right? There is kind of like this medium that we could try to approach, this
Right.
asymptote of potential for a town center. And the closer you are to it, the closer you are to success, but at the same time there are factors that can change the goal, kind of change where the goalpost lies, right? And if it's too far, you need to maybe adjust your strategy for that. Interesting thoughts on that, guys. Thank you. I do appreciate all the comments there. Did read them all, so thank you. Once again, nice thoughts on that. I appreciate it. So I think we can go into the quote of the day. What do you think about that?
I don't even know what the quote of the day is, so I'm in
Well,
the same boat as everybody else. So
so
I'm anxious.
last week our quote of the day was the first sentence of Sun Tzu's Art of War. And this week we're continuing on that. We're not doing a lot of the starting chapters because they have to do more with logistics, which Age of Empires doesn't really deal with logistics, right? You don't need to like supply your army and stuff. Um, it's so just open it up now. So this is in chapter 4, tactical dispositions. It is the start of it. Sun Tzu said, "The good fighters of old first put themselves beyond the possibility of defeat, and then waited for an opportunity of defeating the enemy." Which I'm gonna initially relate that to Age of Empires 1 by saying, kind of back to that point you made a while back. Just make safe, make safe, make safe. It's the adage of the Age of Empires player, right? With the advent of scout rushes being so powerful, people are saying now it's super important to house wall every wood line just in case, right? Just do it. Just house wall your wood line now, right? Before it's too late, right? And I think it's important to look at this quote and say, eliminate the possibility that you die before trying to kill your opponent. And that's at least, it's funny that I read this as we're talking about like idling the town center and stuff, right? Because I think if you idle your TC and your opponent doesn't, you're putting yourself in the realm of possibility for defeat, right? That you're putting yourself into that spot because in theory they get more eco than you and you die, right? If you, I think idling the town center kind of relates to this quote, which is why I picked it, which is why I think this is interesting, and I'd like to get your feedback on this quote here.
Well, I think there's that dimension, but it also brings up another one to mind, and that is about taking good fights, right? A term
Mm,
that's used a lot when we're casting, right?
right.
If you're
totally.
going to raid, if you're going to assault, right? Well, first of all, you have to know where you're going. So you have some level of scouting out where you're, what it is you want to take. Is this going to be a raid? It's going to try to take the ranges, whatever it's going to be. You don't want to take a bad fight, because if you take a bad fight, you're going to have disproportionate losses. It's not like oh, he's got 10 CA, I've got 5 CA. I'll go in, I'll lose 5, but he'll lose 5. No, you'll go in, lose 5, he'll lose 1, or maybe 2 if you're lucky, right?
Right.
You want to be the other guy. You want to be like, okay, he's got 5. I cannot lose with 10. Put myself beyond the possibility of defeat. Then I'm going to go attack, right?
Right.
Or if somebody is coming to attack you, that's not a good fight. I need to back off to a hill. I need to do something. So I think there's the dimension you put on it, but and I don't know. I haven't read Sun Tzu's book, but when you put that up, that was the other thing that made me think about is only take good fights.
Mm. No, that's certainly an interesting take on it, and I could not agree more with you. Like the idea that you don't take a fight with someone if you're not kind of guaranteed a win, right? Like if and I think that's interesting because there's kind of this element in there that might go unnoticed, and that says the good fighters, right? And I think that's something where a player who isn't confident in their skill might think they're good but they're not, right? Or they might think they're bad but they're good, and then they would be unsure about when to take fights. So I think there's a level of confidence that's kind of hidden into this, right? Because putting yourself beyond the possibility of defeat kind of implies that you know the outcome, and you can only know the outcome if you're if you can only know the outcome with confidence if you can actually like think it through already, right? Which is why like when we look at 10 slingers on a hill versus 10 slingers down the hill, we go, oh, obviously we know who's going to win this. But it's interesting because as the fights tend to get larger and as they get more spread out and more diverse with mixed armies, it becomes I think, at least for me, and I hope, I think I would assume for everyone else, as more complexity gets added to the battlefield, it gets harder to make those predictions with absolute confidence, which is why maybe this quote is suggesting that players play kind of on the side of caution when lacking confidence. Is that something that you think you could take away from that? Like if you're not sure that you can win, which has this idea of readability, knowledge, like you said, scouting, that kind of stuff, right? Knowing where you need to go. I think that's something where, okay, if you don't know where you need to go, be confident, be cautious and defensive, and don't let yourself lose because you make a decision that could potentially make you. Or how do you read that? How do you read into this?
Well, I think so think about it maybe from this perspective too. If you have one army, like you've invested everything in this one army, I'm going to go raid with, and
Mm-hmm.
he's got army as well because you've seen the ranges and you've had some back and forth skirmishes, etc. Yeah, if you ask yourself, if I lose this whole army, am I going to lose the game?
Mm.
Right? And if the answer to that is yes, then I think you better think twice about whether you should go in with that, right? If you don't know what's there. Now, if you have a scout hidden in the hill line and you know what, I've got 20 archers, he's got 10, I don't think I can lose, even though it's my only army. Yeah, you go for it. But if you're like, I don't know how many he has, he could have as many or more, he could be up on a hill, he could be behind walls, I don't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we've seen where people have taken their whole army, like they go into a raid,
Oh, this is so
the army
frustrating.
gets cut. The army gets cut off. The army gets annihilated. Right? It's like a Stalingrad situation in the
Yeah.
Sixth Army in World War II. And now you're like, okay, that whole army's gone, and there is no more possibility for defense on the Eastern Front anymore. I mean, it's so. If that's the situation, you better be darn sure that you don't lose that army, because you're saying I'm going to lose the game if that thing gets annihilated because I have no defense left. Right?
Right.
You have two armies,
Oh,
you can say, hey, this one's gonna be a feint, this is gonna be the real one. The feint might die, but then the second one is going to come around the back. So it invokes those types of things that we have seen in the tournament to me when I see this quote.
it's so, man, it's so frustrating because you see someone with a clear advantage in a fight, right? They've got more army, they're assaulting a town, they've got everything they need, they're right outside the walls, they bust through, they run their army in, they're inside, they got all the vills are at their mercy. And then their army just gets mowed down while their army's like shooting houses. Some of them are shooting farms, some of them, shooting at vills that are just running away in panic. And their whole army dies. Then their opponent, even if their army was half the size before, well, now it's infinity times larger because you now have no army, and your opponent that you just sent all your units into has a full army, or maybe you took a fight, but it was just disadvantageous, right? Which is why, oh man, it's just it's just so frustrating to watch people throw armies away, and it's even more frustrating to see people not wall because it's funny because I'm gonna pull it back to this. When I think of this, I think primarily about when to aggress versus when to defend, right? And it's funny because in other games that are RTSs like StarCraft or Age 2, ones that I've played, Age 3 even, there are a lot more ways to find information, right? They're all imperfect games or imperfect information games. It's not like chess is a game of perfect information, right? In chess, you know exactly where all of your opponent's pieces are, right? You know exactly what all the options are for your opponents in theory. The complexity to chess is because of the knowledge that is widely available to both players. There is then this complexity on top of it because the options, while rather simple, are very multifaceted and can go out in many directions, many tendrils, right? Which is why, thinking thinking 4 steps ahead properly in chess is damn near impossible, right? Which is what makes, the best players, when they make a move that is 4 steps ahead of their opponent, it's what leads to hours and hours long games of chess, right? But with age and other like video game RTSs, right? um Combat games like age, and you know what I mean. Where we have fog of war. You don't know what your opponent's resources are. You don't know their technologies. You don't know what they're doing at home. You don't see inside their base very well. You don't have all this. And especially in Age 1, where scouting, especially early scouting, is at a premium in terms of what what value do you have for it. The value of early scouting is exponentially high, right? It's just so absurdly large to have information early, right, in this game. Whereas information later becomes far less efficient, right? Or not efficient, but valuable, right? Because late game with elephant archers, heck, it doesn't matter where you send them. You send them somewhere, they're gonna win the game anyway, right? You have them just by existence, right? Scythe, you just send them out. Scythe, just go. You'll win the game eventually, right? It's like that kind of this Legion sense. Any Iron Age unit, you just go with them, and they kind of they do it on their own. But early on, axe rushes, early on slinger rushes, early on scout rushes. There's kind of this premium value that information has, and lack of it, I think, is one of those things that this quote is specifically applying, is applicable to, right? It's they first put themselves beyond the possibility of defeat, which I think heavily relates to information and scouting, which is interesting because I feel a lot of times people overlook scouting, and people oftentimes forget how important it is. And I know I never scout properly, and it's funny because it's kind of like with the Age of Empire, with the going back to the defining success question with the self improvement. I mean, I don't. I think saying to have perfect scouting, I think that's a bit like flapping your wings, flapping your arms in your yard and hoping to fly, like you said earlier, Rom. I don't think it's possible to get perfect scouting information in this game. So, what would your goal be, right? Like if the quote is saying beyond the possibility of defeat, that's a finite limit where
Well,
defeat has
I have a
been
thought on that.
overcome, right? Okay, yeah, yeah.
So, like, if you ask that question with scouting, and we've said this many times in the when we're casting, if you want to scout, and you want to be, and I'm going to put it in Sun Tzu's terms, beyond the possibility of defeat, meaning that the scout rush fails, not that the scout himself necessarily dies, but the scout rush fails. Now I got like 6 scouts and all they can do is wander around outside a town that's defended. That you have to be on your opponent in the 10 to 10:30 time frame. Now, it doesn't mean that if you get there at 11 or 11:30 that it can't succeed, but every second that goes beyond a certain time, the likelihood that that guy is defended with walls or has other units or something increases. But if you're usually, what we've seen in here is usually if you get in there at the 10-minute mark with scouts, there's a good chance that that scout rush is going to do something. So that may be as an example of how can I improve my scout rush, that I actually get my scouts in the enemy town no later than 10:30. And maybe you make it at 10:45. That's still a lot better than 11:15. But that, to me, that seems like a magic time frame.
Mm-hmm. Also, just to clarify, all the times that I said scouting previously, like in the last like 5 minutes I was talking, I did not once refer to scouts like the unit. I was talking about scouting with like vills and artifacts. But yeah, continue. Like there's a premium on scouting, as in the information you get from those early Stone Age units that you send out into the map to get info.
Yeah, and the reason I understand that but the reason I like scouts for scouting, and
Right.
I think a lot of people didn't do that before because the only value the scout had was the scouting. Now they can be like, oh, well, they can actually kill something that they find. But we talked about this in the podcast last week. One of the things I love is one of my partners says, I'm going to scout rush, because then he's going to kill vills. But what he's going to do for me is he's going to reveal a large portion of the map, because scouts are so good at scouting, even though the mission they're being sent on is to destroy vills in that person's mind. So I think of scouts and scouting just because they're so good at it. But yeah, CAs are great at it because they move usually. I mean, who sends one CA by itself usually? It's like a horde, and when they spread out, they kind of reveal a lot of the map very fast, etc.
And that's interesting, and I think that's why it's funny that you said that. Who sends just one CA out? And I know several players that do. I know I do, right? It's like I do that to avoid dying. I do it because they are such excellent scouts. One alone dying to something unexpected is far better than running into something unexpected with everything or having that something unexpected hit your town, right? I think it's far better to get information from those individual units than to have, 4 more CA in one fight is far less valuable than knowing every possible move your opponent could have. I think that's far more important, because then you can take advantage of the map that you've scouted. Then you could say, oh, they're coming this way with cav, well, I'll just go sit on that hill here and just wait. And then they send their cav up and, they make a mistake, right? They right click on top of the hill and then they look away. They make some vills. They're looking at their farms, and, maybe 5-6 seconds later, they go back to those cav. They get the little bell. They're like, oh, maybe my cav found something. They look back and there's 15 CA on a hill and they just lost 5 of their cav, right? It's like, okay, the value. And that's what, to me, thinking about this quote more and more, I think that this quote, the good fighters of old first put themselves beyond the possibility of defeat, then waited for an opportunity of defeating the enemy. I think that specifically applies here to information.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of meat in that sentence.
It's such a it's a meaty
why
sentence.
It's why Sun Tzu was Sun Tzu, and we're trying to just
it's a hot,
what he had in his
Rom,
head. Right?
It's a hot dog stand, dude. There's a lot of meat in there. it is loaded, one could say. Loaded.
But yeah, it's interesting, and one of the things, you and I have a lot of these conversations.
That's a weird analogy to the hot dog stand. I'm sorry, everybody. Right. I'm sorry. I apologize. That was grotesque. But moving on. Yeah.
I like hot dogs. I don't care what you say. But Yeah, but when you have these kind of discussions and you debate and you think and you know, and I see some of the viewers are making some really interesting comments about it. I think it takes up everybody's knowledge, awareness, skill level by kind of getting the different perspectives. Like you're all sort of grappling with something, and you're like, wait a minute, I hadn't really thought about that. Like what you just said with the single CA, where you're actually using him as a scout. I
Hmm.
was thinking about it in terms of the combat. Like one C by himself doesn't really do a whole lot, but yeah, as a fast moving scout that can see stuff, yeah, right.
Hmm. But the risk of losing that one CA is much lower. And we're seeing assistants here saying he's talking about Sun Tzu. So I'm gonna read this because it's interesting. I read this a second ago. Sun Tzu was tasked to train an army that was 10 times smaller than that was going to attack the state he was in. He never defended his own state nor battled the enemy near. He took it to the enemy for fast raids, forcing the enemy 10 times larger than his to retreat, which is interesting because I think that relates very well to
It's like that Napoleon
the
thing you were saying.
yeah, this is yeah, it's similar to divide and conquer, but we'll okay, yeah, that's we could totally talk about when to attack and defend in another episode because I think that's I mean assistance great insight there, but I think that has to be a topic for another day because feinting attacks, that's a whole other tactic versus strategy thing. Rom, I know you love talking about that difference.
Oh, for sure, for sure. So, well, I guess we've gone 33 minutes over our allotted time period.
I think we're never gonna get these conversations under an hour. If this was 3 questions and a quote and we spent an hour and a half on it, I mean, I don't see us ever like we're gonna have to limit it to like one question and the
Yeah,
quote.
right.
And then we'll get it under an hour because we're about to do the closing statements now, which if you don't know, this is where we're just gonna talk about what's coming up this weekend.
Oh,
This is only
and
part one of chapter four.
it's an exciting weekend though.
Yeah, this is only part one of chapter four, assistance. So yeah, this quote is just we're just pulling little quotes here, and we're getting along. One quote at a time. We're planning quite. We're I think we're content with how this podcast series has developed so far. This is episode 2. I'd call it a success once again. So I think we can look forward to next week's quote. It's certainly I think for now we're gonna be sticking with Sun Tzu. I think that's my goal at least is just to get through some of the quotes that I pick out as being particularly valuable for Age of Empires. And then yep. That's that. So for closing, oh, this weekend. So we're talking about October 25th as Friday, 26th and 27th. We have so many matches. We have so many matches coming up this weekend that I don't even think it's worth it me telling you all the times now because I
Just
think
be
it's
on standby.
I think be
Get
on
get the
standby.
alerts on your phone.
I think that's one of the best ways. Or check out the Classic Cup announcements. Or if you're on stream right now and you scroll down, you should be able to see it's not perfectly updated now, but I'll be updating it later tonight. Um, there is a if you scroll down on the stream, you'll see oh boy, there is a live countdown timer to things that are coming up, and so we have quite a bit coming up this weekend. This is only showing 3 of the 7 things. Qualifiers just started for Classic Cup Fight of the Hittite. So this tournament, it's a 1v1 tournament if you're not familiar, and it is beyond epic. So I cannot wait to kind of dive into more qualifying matches. I mean, so far we've played 2, and they have been beyond exciting, like beyond exciting. So looking forward to it.